Alright, man, and we're back. Alright, this week's hot topic, we're gonna start off with Black Panther. Wakanda. My man ain't seen it. I don't know how you ain't seen it. And being a Marvel fan, I know you are.
I'm late to it.
But
very disappointed.
So y'all gonna have to just.
Supposed to be down with the culture, no?
I'm down with it.
Yeah, man.
I
So
definitely
we.
want to see it. So I heard great reviews about it.
Yeah.
I know. You guys have said you loved it. You go see it again.
Yeah, I definitely will see it again. So overall, it's an amazing movie.
Well filmed.
Yeah, definitely well filmed. Had a lot of action in it. And another thing I liked was a lot of the little underlying messages that they left in it. About a lot of racial messages. Not to put anything out specific, but a lot of little just like racial, you know what I'm saying, racial jokes. You know what I'm saying? Not anything condescending, but just in a light, in a reverse perspective than what we used to having, especially in America. You know what I'm saying?
There's a scene, and not to blow it for you, but there's a scene where what's my guy's name?
From Get Out?
No. He was up in the mountain. King.
Oh yeah.
Coop.
Yeah.
Where he was like, "You say another word, I'll feed you to my children."
Yeah.
He was like, "I'm just kidding, vegetarian."
You're vegetarian, yeah.
Because it plays with that old stereotype of Africans are cannibals and all those things like that. I thought that was those little nuggets.
Yeah, man, and it was very interesting. You'll see it when you see it. But when Chadwick Boseman, he was on something where I can't remember what it was exactly, but somebody was asking him, was like, what's going to make this movie different from other movies? And he was saying that I think the thing that'll make this movie different is that both the antagonist and protagonist have very good points.
Yeah.
So I think that's definitely one thing.
There's moments where you're like, he's not a bad guy. I see where he's,
he's only bad because he killed people. You know what I'm saying?
And actually, I saw some interviews with Michael B. Jordan,
Mm-hmm.
who played Killmonger, and he had a hard time answering questions, about his character because like you just gotta see it to really understand. Like,
right? Yes.
He said, I'm a villain, but I'm not really the villain in this one.
Yeah.
And it does make more sense now that once you see the movie, it's like, that's what we meant. But
Yeah, because even some other people were saying some stuff, and like some stuff besides, some people besides Killmonger were saying things. You'd be like, you got a point, bruh. Like, you ain't lying. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think that's another thing that made it a great movie, that even the villain had a really good point or a really good perspective on what he was trying to do, what a message he was trying to put out, and whatnot. So you definitely dig it.
And kind of criticizing the people who kind of believe
Yeah,
why you did come to help. That was how a lot of you actually feel. So it was great.
It's interesting to see what comes out with the next Marvel movie. What role is going to play in Infinity Wars, because definitely want to see that. That's going to be another blockbuster. And there's a movie's breaking records still. It's breaking records. Have you seen it?
Was it?
I'm not saying like the records that it's.
Oh yeah, Marvel will always increase because of what it's doing.
Mm-hmm.
It's created its universe,
Right.
where almost now every Marvel character has been involved in the universe.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not the actor itself, like Tobey Maguire, but Spider-Man. But Spider-Man is now a part of this universe.
Right.
And so they're just going to build. You're going to have Venom into the picture, so he's going to build with Spider-Man's universe.
Mm-hmm.
So they're just going to keep building and building and building, and it's just going to get more interesting, like as it goes. If they can
Or DC.
Oh, bruh.
too, because oh man.
Did you watch Justice League?
No, I have not seen Justice League. But
Don't.
speaking on just Batman versus Superman, and how disappointed I was because as a comic book fan, I own the Death of Superman. Like that's my comic book shrine.
Yes.
It's unopened. It's still in the original case. Like that's my shrine. The fight was good, but the story leading up to it was just diluted.
And I felt like once I saw Ben Affleck was gonna be Batman, I was like, bruh, really? Like, come on, man.
No, and the character development is just not there. Whereas Marvel has created this character development where they can enter each other's worlds and make a difference. Like we were just watching Thor the other day, right?
Right, yeah.
And to see Doctor Strange there, and to know that now, Thor is now stuck out in the galaxy, which will lead to, him being in Infinity War and his place in Infinity War.
Right.
So they're blending their universes so greatly. I mean, it's just, and that's something that DC just can't do. I mean, Suicide Squad was absolutely horrible. I mean, absolutely horrible. Like I said, Batman vs Superman was such a disappointment. I have not seen Justice League yet.
Bro, don't waste your time, dog.
I've not heard good things about it. And they have such a good product. Like, they really do.
Yeah, I mean, and the characters, like,
I think they're just trying to rush it. They're trying to catch up to Marvel in a way, I think. And they're just like, the Batman vs Superman movie, I think there was too much backstory and information they kept trying to plug to catch up, and especially Justice League, where you don't really know Aquaman yet.
Right.
In these movies, but like,
they're like a cartoon character.
They were doing too much.
Exactly.
They're like a cartoon character.
I think they're just doing too much too fast.
Yeah.
He's trying to, and it's not working.
Yeah, it's definitely didn't work with Justice League, not for
Keep
me.
making movies, but take your time on it.
I was watching, I was just like, this.
And they can do it because if you look at the way Marvel schedules things, I mean, it took the second Guardians of the Galaxy 4 years to come out afterwards. So you knew you were gonna wait for it.
Right, but they have other things to fill the void.
They have other things
while that's
other characters that
yeah.
will fill the void, and they also connect to the storyline. So at the same time, you have the Guardians of the Galaxy, and you can have Thor who can transform through the galaxies. It's cool to be able to in that story where he gets out of place and they have to save him.
And then like before you even had like the whole team come together, you had the whole you had Iron Man, you had Thor movie. You know what I'm saying? You had Captain America.
Before you did the Avengers.
Before they all came together for you had a couple Hulk movies. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Before they all came together in Avengers. And then through Avengers they were able to introduce other characters along with it. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like what DC's trying to do with only really having Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman, and then trying to throw in other characters. It's like I feel like these characters are too big for you just to not have a movie or have some kind of background on them where you just throw them in, and then plus the movie wasn't that good. So bro,
They rushed it.
I don't understand why Christian Bale isn't Batman.
Yeah. I know he said he didn't want to.
Yeah,
he didn't want to do it.
Yeah.
But I feel like he was a way better Batman. I just didn't like his voice. Yeah, I didn't like that. But
And you also got to remember is that Batman trilogy really wasn't a part of
It was DC, yeah, it wasn't part of DC. Yeah. But I felt like they could have
somehow
they could have just brought it in. You know what I'm saying? Just brought it in and
because you already got the other characters too. Yeah, Harvey Dent. You got
yes, and Trill ass movies that everybody loves. Who don't like Batman? That trilogy of Batman. Who don't like those movies?
Exactly.
They actually made those early Batman movies look silly.
Yeah.
They're still like classic.
The Michael Keaton ones are classic. But they're more of a comic book movie.
Yeah.
Whereas the trilogy really wasn't a comic. It was more of a darker tale than a comic book movie.
Mr. Freeze.
Graphic novel. You know what I'm saying? So what?
Like Mr. Freeze.
Makes it look kind of cheesy.
But yeah, man. But Black Panther definitely dope. Definitely. It's one of the best Marvel. It's up there in the Marvel universe as far as like solo movies. One of my favorite ones, definitely. I have to go back and watch some others on to rank it, but I would definitely see it again.
I did see it.
You already saw it twice.
Yes.
Was it just as good a second time?
Yes, it was. But the thing is about some movies is, I think through the excitement of waiting for it.
Yeah.
And you finally get a chance to sit down and watch it. You're like, this is happening. You just miss things. The second time you see a movie, so I got to connect a few more dots.
Oh, okay.
The second time
I feel you.
around.
Yeah.
It was, still very good. Definitely worth seeing it again.
Yeah, definitely, man. And I like how black people kind of ran around this movie. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure everybody noticed it. I'm sure everybody noticed it. And that's another thing I thought was gonna take it to the top as far as like how much money it was gonna make. Because you have Marvel fans who's going to go see every Marvel movie. That's me. I'm going to see every Marvel movie. But then you also had like black people who wouldn't usually go see a Marvel movie or go to the movies at all. It's like, I'm going.
Go see that?
Yeah. My mama went. Yeah, my mama wanted to go check it out. So definitely, man.
I saw online it was 2 you know how they just talking about representation.
Mm-hmm.
And there's these two little boys, I think it's two brothers, and I think two brothers or two friends, but they're like 4 or 5 years old, and they're at the movies with the movie poster.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, that's me, I'm that one. And the other one's like, I'm that one.
Mm.
You know, and the mother was just recording them. She was like, this is what it's about right here. You know? And I was like, that's a dope
Yeah, it is
little,
dope.
little candid moment, you know. But yeah, it was definitely, I wasn't disappointed at all.
Nah.
It was great.
Nah.
Actually, well, I take it back. Kind of. Now, the one thing I did not really like about the movie, I don't know, get shot to say this, but that final fight scene,
Uh-huh.
I feel like it could have been a little better.
I mean,
I feel like
the movie gave me a lot. I was
It-
more than satisfied.
I was definitely, don't get me wrong, it was satisfying. It was a great movie. But that final fight, I was like, give me something a little bit more for a fight scene. You know,
For me, it was more like I didn't want the movie to end. It's one of those movies. Like, you know, if this movie kept going for another 30 minutes, you know what I'm saying? I'll keep watching. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't be upset at all. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, some movies, like, I feel like the last Transformers movie, I was just too long.
talk about the Wahlberg ones.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, well, yeah.
They should have stopped.
Yeah.
Shut up, said I ain't going.
Yeah, so, but like, I feel like it was just dragging out. But this one, I feel like I was intrigued, like I was on the edge of my seat, like the whole movie.
Yeah.
You know?
I got the same feeling. But at the end, once the movie was over and like we had actually got up to leave, I was thinking about the fight.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was, I don't know, just there's something was missing from it, I think.
Hmm.
I mean, it was the things that they were saying, you know, during the fight, and it was good, but the action of them both wearing this outfit, you know.
I thought it was dope, bruh.
It was something.
I thought it was crazy.
The elbows and fights in the air were cool, but then once they were on the ground,
It's the hardest thing to do, actually, in a
Mhm.
comic book movie is that final scene. I mean, you can look at past comic book movies, you know, even, you know, going back to the, like, we talked about the Dark Knight trilogy,
Mhm.
is, you know, people, especially me, having read Batman, the breaking of the bat, and like how Batman, you know,
Mhm.
how his back got broken, and to like look at that final fight scene with Bane,
Mm-hmm.
was good until the fact that he doesn't kill Bane.
Right.
Catwoman comes in and blasts him. Same thing with the Joker. They really don't fight until they get strung up. It's from across town, him trying to figure things out. So I think when you have a final fight scene, especially in a comic book movie, it's always going to tend to, you're not going to be happy with it. Like, I wasn't happy with the final fight scene in Superman versus Superman versus Batman, because when you look at it comic book style, that was like the death of everything.
Right.
Like, and to like, you can't recreate it scene by scene by scene,
Mhm.
especially with what you're trying to do and passing so much information along, especially it seems like Black Panther does.
Mhm.
It sends more messages. So I think that movie is more about the messages you say with the antagonist and the protagonist than actually the final fight scene itself. Because the messages are the overlying fact
Exactly,
of
yeah.
Black Panther.
Yeah,
Whereas you got other superhero movies that try to make that final fight scene.
Yeah.
That's what the movie's all
Yeah,
about.
and I definitely think that the message, you know, underlying messages in this movie, not even underlying messages, messages period, in this movie were to be at the forefront,
right?
rather than the action. I did have that action though. It had that action though too. That part was it had that action though too. But I think that's definitely a good point what you making, that the messages from the movie were trying to be like the front runner, trying to put stuff out there.
I just think that last fight scene could have been a little bit.
I think you just wanted more.
Yeah.
I think you just, and I always want more. I always want more fight scenes.
Like you want more. You don't want Catwoman to come in and blow Bane away. No, you want them to fight that shit out.
Right.
Bane's the one that broke Batman's back.
Right.
Right. Do shit to Catwoman. And Catwoman's gonna come and blow him up. Like, come on, man. So it's hard to get right because people try it and mess with it. It's just very hard to get right.
Yeah.
That's why when I hear you guys talk, is the messages is what they were trying to promote. I think more than anything else within the movie. And I'm sure there's a message within that final fight too. Not knowing, you know, how it goes down.
Definitely.
But I'm sure the messages, you know, as they're fighting are there as well, or the messages that they represent are going at each other. And I think that's what they want you to see.
For sure, man. Any more thoughts on Black Panther?
No, good movie. Go check it out, man.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
You might have to be there, man.
I'll ride with you, bro.
Alright.
I'll ride with you, bro. Alright, so the next hot topic we're gonna get into, let's talk about Laura Ingraham a little bit. Her comments that she had, her strong comments she had about LeBron James. So, I'm going to post what she said. Let me just read what she said. She said on a network show that she has on Fox. Okay, and we know that Fox has their views on things. Fox has their views on things. So she says, quote, "Must they run their mouths like that? This is what happens when you attempt to leave high school a year early to join the NBA. Keep the political commentary to yourself, or as someone once said, shut up and dribble." So she said that in response to LeBron James' critical remarks about the president and the way that he's operating in office and running the country. So first of all, let's just talk about did you see what LeBron had? Everybody saw what LeBron came? Yeah. So Carrie Champion has a podcast where she has players right around. They just talk, and so this time they were talking about LeBron and Kevin Durant, the two biggest stars in the NBA. We're talking about Donald Trump, and they had some negative things to say about him, as most people do, with the way he's conducting himself as being president of the United States of America. So, Laura Ingraham, y'all go first. Yeah, y'all go first.
On her or
It just
just the situation. It's funny how, especially Fox and Friends, like to push Constitution and all these different rights that everyone has, but then when it's against them, or not in their favor, that's when they choose to criticize other players. Like he's using this platform, like Kaepernick.
Right.
It's not the rule book. Let him man voice his opinion. But to shut up and dribble, it's
it really is.
And to know who she who she is, she's basically shock value. She's basically the female Bill O'Reilly at this point in the game. And the sad, she's basically shock value. And she says stuff like that to get her ratings. That's her ratings right there. The sad part about it is that they don't do their research, because she took the approach like all LeBron does is play basketball and he's not important anywhere else in this world. And coming from LeBron's home state, knowing that this man sends thousands of kids to school, thousands of kids to college, knowing this man does a charity bike run in downtown Cleveland every year, brings Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh, all his other champion teammates with him from the Cavs and the Heat. They all come up there to support his charity. It's done every year. He does a basketball game as well where Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh come up, and it's a charity basketball game. He raises so much for his community, and his response was beautiful. He says, "No, I'm not gonna show up here. I'm too important. I'm too important to do that." And if they could just, to me, that's why it screams shock value, because there's so much more that this man has done, other than that video where she says that he doesn't enunciate and stuff like that. I heard him perfectly fine. I knew exactly what he was saying, just because he didn't say it in political terms that you would have liked to use doesn't demean him in any which way, shape, or form.
Right.
I was like, this man is smart. I'm like, this man has been smart since he was a freshman in high school, knowing exactly where he was going and exactly what he was doing. He surrounded himself with the most dependable people. Made his whole crew in the
made
his brand. He's made his friends. Not only just giving them money, giving them jobs. They made a part of his legacy.
They all got bread. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. They all got bread. Not small bread, but hard bread. He said, "Look, you're going to be this to me. I need to groom you with this right now." And the man is such a smart businessman. The fact that you couldn't see past a car interview to know that everything that he does for his community in Miami and in Cleveland, and I'm sure other places around the world, I'm like, that's just ridiculous. And that's why it's straight shock value. To me, the only people that paid attention to that were people that Fox News didn't like her. Everybody else just kind of looked at it. Even if you were on the fence, like Republican Democrat, you just like, that's kind of stupid.
Right.
Because you know that what that man does for basketball in his community. outweighs anything.
And the thing is, people know that, but they still don't give him credit
No, they don't.
for it. Not just like Fox, but like just
There's no people.
Yeah.
casual conversation.
You know,
He does so much off the court for positive causes. So Lauren Ingram. First of all, let's. She's not a stupid person. She's a very smart intellectual. And she's been in the game for a while, so she knows what she's talking about. She knows what she's doing. She makes a comment like this. To her credit, shut up and do whatever is a thing of hers. She does that to a lot of people. Like about 15 years ago, she wrote a book called "Shut Up and Sing," right? So, and she used the same line: "Shut up and act, shut up and do this," whatever many times. But so a lot of people want to bring in the racial part about it, being shut up and dribble. It like just because I know she's done that before, I'm not gonna say that it's racist. You know what I'm saying? But it was racially insensitive. Again, we have another situation where something is racial. It's not necessarily racist. You're not saying this to be racist, but not thinking about what you're saying and who you're saying it to makes it racially insensitive. Because how many athletes have been told to shut up and dribble? Or just shut up and play football, or just shut up and do whatever. You know what I'm saying? Just stay in your lane, like this ain't for you. You know what I'm saying? How many black people, even outside of sports, have been told, you know what I'm saying, just be happy with what you got. You know what I'm saying? Be happy being right, you know what I'm saying? Just be happy just being an all-star or being a basketball player or a football star. You know what I'm saying? So in that aspect, it's racially insensitive to say this to this man because of what he's saying. And not only because of what he's saying, what the majority of America is saying about not only America, but the majority of the world. It's so crazy. We live abroad, and so we get the aspects, we get the opinions of people from everywhere. Like people from not only living here from the Middle East, but people from all parts of Europe, all parts of Eastern Asia, Africa. When we travel to places, we talk to people, we have conversations with these people. And a lot of them feel like the way we do about the current president. Like, why the hell would you do something like that? Like, that's crazy. Like, you can tell Donald Trump, shut up and be a reality TV star. Did you tell him that? Huh? Miss Ingram, did you say that? Like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, straight up.
Exactly.
If you telling people to shut up and do their job, you know what I'm saying? Did you tell them to shut up and just be a billionaire? Just shut up and be a CEO? Did you do that? Nah. So like, don't come at LeBron. And the thing is, like, LeBron does so much off the court, like you said, to help the community. He does so much in a positive manner. You know what I'm saying? The only thing negative that you can really say about this man off the court was the decision. Right? When he decision to leave Cleveland and go to, you know what I'm saying, how he did Cleveland or whatever, you know what I'm saying? But even, correct me if I'm wrong, but even in doing that, he was raising money so even when he did something wrong in people's eyes, he was raising money for a good cause in doing that. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of people, as I understand it, a lot of people from Cleveland, they weren't upset necessarily about the fact that he left. It was more so how he did it. But even in doing that, he was raising money for the Boys and Girls Club.
Yeah.
So even when he did something wrong, we broke a lot of people's hearts, he was doing it for a good cause. So like, don't like, and that just tells, and like her response, and his response, and like you said, I love his response, saying I'm not gonna do this, I'm not gonna shut up the dribble because I'm too important to too many people, for too many kids.
And 2 little boys, yeah, next one.
Right, definitely, the most important to them, you know what I'm saying? So it's stuff like that, so people please recognize what people like him are doing. And also Kevin Durant is doing a lot of positive stuff in his community as well. You know what I'm saying? So, and like, they are like the model athletes. You know what I'm saying? Like, they are the people that you want your kids to be like. You know what I'm saying? Like, everybody want to be like Mike on the court. You know what I'm saying? But like, if your child's gonna be like a star athlete, you want them to be like LeBron, Kevin Durant off the court.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, just overall a good person. You know what I'm saying? Who's like about trying to do the right thing for people. So I think that's one thing people definitely have to come in context. Take the context when you're talking about him. But that just baffled me. You know what I'm saying? What are you shooting for? And making a comment like that.
Like you said, just rating, right?
Yeah. That's sort of like you said. She had a book way back then and was shut up and shut up and sing or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
She's just carrying it on. That's what makes her. She needs that. and that's what keeps her alive.
And
And with Fox News, you know, their controversial figures have been going by the wayside. So, you know, she's stepping up, taking that role, and she said something like that. And it, like I said, to me, it was very insensitive.
Right.
Like the way you put it, very insensitive.
Right, because like, for how long have black athletes been told to do that? You know,
Just
it's
be happy with this one.
exactly.
I mean, we just had that last season with Kaepernick.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I'm saying? Shut up and play football. Like, no, there's more important stuff going on than football. Like LeBron understands there's more important stuff going on than basketball. Like he talks about that all the time. Even though, like, you know, basketball is his claim to fame, he's using that as a platform to do a lot of positive stuff in the communities. So yeah, man. So she just blew my mind. I was like, "What? You can't be serious." But you know, some people get off on stuff like that. So I don't know, man. All right, so let's dive into the next topic. The Florida school shooting at Majority Stoneman Douglas High School. Another very sad occurrence of gun violence in the schools. So this guy, Nicholas Cruz, who was no longer at the school, he set off their fire alarm to lure students in the hallway, and then went into the hallways and the classrooms and opened fire on these students. 17 died and 14 were wounded. Yeah, like I said, it went through 3 floors, throughout the hallways and classrooms, opening fire on students. Another sad occurrence of violence in schools. If anything, like, what are your thoughts on ways that we can try to prevent things like this from happening?
I don't know that I mean, there's steps you can take to eventually prevent it, but I don't know if you can always prevent something like this from happening.
Speak up.
There's guns everywhere. There's like, I don't know if you can stop it.
It's very disturbing.
Yeah.
The actual thought of it's very disturbing. Things like this happening, and you know, thinking how can we stop this from happening? You know, it's almost like you just gotta pray and hope that people are good enough not to do things like this.
Yeah.
You know, but I mean, this is what, 4th shooting this year, 4th, 5th mass shooting in school this year. Yeah, 19. My producer's telling me.
Something like
More than that, I mean, but whatever number is still too many. You know, it's ridiculous of how like this stuff is happening at schools. You know, and anybody that's just able to get a gun. I mean, if you look into his Instagram posts and like what he's supposed to on social media and stuff like that, obviously this dude had a problem, and he was able to still like have weapons. You know, so that's one thing that still boggles my mind about this whole gun thing and gun controls and anybody being able to get one.
Yeah, I think, and I know it's been said before, but the mental health issue is a big issue, and I think it needs to be addressed, especially in the schools, because you think about what a child's brain is always developing up to the point to their like 22 or something.
Yeah.
Your brain is steadily developing.
25.
Yeah, it's steadily developing, and at their age, they're going through so much. And I know in my high school, we maybe had one guidance counselor, but you know, he wasn't there to really like, you know, do anything. There needs to be a team like set for, you know, mental health issues. And that when something is addressed, like if a parent issue comes up, because apparently some of these people that he moved in with,
Yeah,
saw signs.
because his parents died, and something happened to the people he was living
He
with.
was living with.
Yeah.
And they had signs, and I think it needs to start at that level, especially mental health.
Mhm.
The child's brain strictly developing, all the pressures you have of being a child and going through what you're going through, your body changing, your hormones changing, your feelings changing, being introduced to new things you've never been introduced to before. They need someone there to help them through that.
Right.
And I can tell you, probably at any of my school levels, I mean, I couldn't tell you who to go to for that. And so it needs to start being there right at that level. I mean, I would say do it in middle school.
That's true.
I mean, because I know my toughest years were middle school, like developing as a boy and stuff like that.
Mhm.
You know, I was short, I was chubby, I had no height, I had all my baby fat on me. I mean, it just sucked. Like it really
People
sucked.
cracking jokes and shit.
People cracking jokes and shit. I mean, it sucked, but I made it through. I was strong. I had a good family.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
I never thought anything else. But not everybody has that situation. Not everybody has that
That's
great
true.
family
It's very true.
that's going to back them up. And so it needs to start in the schools, and it needs to be beyond guidance counselors.
Right.
It needs to be a team.
Right. All right. So like, if obviously he had mental health issues and he was going through stuff in his life, still not an excuse to kill anybody. You know, like still not an excuse to kill anybody. But like you said, we do have to find ways to help those type of people, and also we need to find ways to keep those people from having guns.
Yep.
You know, so it's a sad subject to talk about. You know, death, especially happening in that fashion. Where kids are just going to school, a place that you're supposed to feel safe, you know, and everything that comes with that. We're educators, we know. You know, supposed to feel comfortable, supposed to feel safe, all those things, acceptance and all that good stuff. But like you said, yeah, there needs to be people in place to help people like that. And if there were people in place, then, you know, then we as a society, as a, you know, as educators, as a system, need to do a better job of identifying that and giving solutions to whatever's going on. But I know that's not a solution for everything. You can't stop everything from happening, but I think you can do a better job than what we're doing with all these school shootings that's been happening. It's just a very sad thing to even talk about.
Yeah.
You know?
My mother's been a pharmacist for many years.
Mm-hmm.
And like growing up, especially talking like to my brother, you know, because he was, I would say, more of a hothead, you know.
Mm-hmm.
His younger days, he's a little bit more aggressive. So she always tell us to kind of be careful out there because you don't know who's who. on the
Right.
streets.
Yeah.
And her being a pharmacist and prescribing, you know, filling prescriptions for years, see that there's a lot of mental health issues out there walking around you don't know, you know. So, like, pretty much more people do have mental problems than you think, you know, walking around and functioning. And if they have these other factors with their mental health issues, you know, stuff like this happens.
Right.
So,
And
they have to be not labeled, but something.
yeah, it's crazy. And then how often it's occurring, you know, is something that's very alarming. Like
Okay, at your high school, did you have metal detectors?
no, we didn't have metal detectors.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
had them briefly
Mm-hmm.
because we had an incident at our school, but other than that, we had more police officers, police dogs.
Yeah.
For a short portion of the school year, but other than that, yeah. But I know there's a lot of schools that do have those metal detectors and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate to have to put that in there, but
Exactly, but it seems like, you know, it might be where we want to go. And now they're talking about arming teachers. So do you think that's a solution, arming teachers?
no.
I don't think so either.
No.
I don't think so either.
And think about the procedure you would have to go through. I mean, think about what police do
Mm-hmm.
when they check their guns in and out. So you're gonna give us 20 minutes to check our guns in and out and like unlock it, check the magazine in, check the magazine out. I'm like, think of all that. And then what happens if someone just go, you know, on break just goes pop one off in there, and then what do you do?
Right.
Like then, I mean, can you really trust adults with guns as well? I mean,
Right,
just because
exactly.
we're teachers doesn't mean a lot of us can be unstable at times, especially kids we teach. But no, I mean, you can't go around arming everybody. I like the idea of maybe one armed officer.
Mm-hmm.
that-
Now we did have, I think,
in school.
and I know we always had at least one. I'm trying to think, we had more. That was at high school. I know we had an armed officer at the school. When I used to work in the States in my middle school, we definitely had an armed officer.
Yeah.
We had,
Always on deck.
we had a couple security guards,
Mhm.
like, I would say 3 or 4,
Mhm.
I remember, and then we had
Right.
one actual police officer stationed at our school.
Or you have someone that's actually licensed to do it
Mhm.
within the school. The gun's kept in a safe place, away from kids, away from
Of course,
everybody
of course,
else.
in the safe.
And then when something happens, they're the ones that are allowed to go get the
Right.
gun and stuff like that. So-
Right. So with that being said, like Deputy Scott Peterson, okay, so this guy, he's supposed to be the armed deputy at the school. And so he stayed outside of the building for 4 minutes while the shooting was going on. And so after having the counts and people watching the video, there was like the head sheriff in the county or whatever. He was like, yeah, he definitely knew there was shooting on the side. So in the meantime, he's been suspended without pay, but he decided to resign and retire instead. So that sounds like you were scared to go in. You know what I'm saying? Like you scared to go do his job, which is that's your job. We all understand it's dangerous. Like nobody wants to run into a gunfight. We understand that. You know what I'm saying? Exactly. But this is your job. You know what I'm saying? Like you took that oath, you took that pledge, you collect those dollars. You know what I'm saying? Like this is part of your job to be there when something like this happens. And and I feel like if you're going to be a security guard or a person who's supposed to step up in that kind of situation, you got to. I understand you didn't want to. I understand if you were scared. You know what I'm saying? I understand being scared. Nobody want to die. Like, bro, like nobody want to rush to die. Like, I understand that, but also it's your job to protect those students in that situation. You know what I'm saying? Like, not saying that nobody would got killed, nobody got hurt, but
you could reduce that from 17.
Exactly. Definitely could have been
4 minutes that's a lot of round.
Yeah. With an AR-15
Yeah.
and like a supply of clips, like this dude had an AR, had a street sweeper, bro.
Pretty much.
Okay, but like, or maybe I'm a little ignorant to this, but
Yeah.
where do you get?
They sell it?
They sell gun shows.
They sell it?
Gun shows are popular.
Yeah.
Apparently he went to a shop. I
Yeah.
believe he went to a shop.
Yeah.
Somehow at the age of 18 was
Yeah.
able to.
And we'll dive into the whole gun laws and stuff. We'll dive into that a little later. But it's definitely disturbing how accessible firearms are to anybody. Yeah, it is, man. It is. Any more to add to that? Any more to add?
No, yeah, prayers to the families.
Yeah, definitely.
And stuff like that, but
Definitely. Hopefully they can get back to a sense of normalcy
now,
down there.
Tough.
Yeah, definitely.
okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's like in this type of situation, what can you say? All you can do is pray and hope for things to change. And I'm
with change, so like,
Uh-huh.
it's not a new topic.
Right.
What else has to happen for our government to?
you know what? We're gonna get into this more later, to the gun stuff later. But I saw something the other day. It was a Facebook post, and it was some guy. It was a white guy, and he was saying that the reason that nothing's changing is because all these school shootings, the majority of them, like the vast majority of them, are done by white kids. And he was like, that's why nothing changed. He feel like if it was a Mexican or a black kid, he was like, they'll be burning down the streets for gun laws to change. For it'll be complete. He said the scope of it would be completely different if it was a black kid or if it was like a Mexican kid. So what do you think about that?
Either that or it has to affect them directly. Like,
I think
one of their relatives has to be seriously affected for them to be considered. But if it happens across the country, well,
I'm
sorry, but nothing's going to change. So, but with what you just said, there could be some truth to that. Especially the way the media plays on these situations. The kid shot up the church in South Carolina.
When Donald's afterwards.
He was. Yeah.
You gotta be kidding me, dog. You gotta be kidding me, bro. You gonna take a man, just kill some people, get some food?
Yeah.
Like,
Are you hungry? But I mean, that definitely wouldn't have happened if that were you.
yeah.
So there might be some truth to that. Like if the black kid or Spanish kid, or Mexican kid, if they do the shooting, maybe
I feel like
It's due to the political climate as well. I mean, think about when school shootings. Think about when Sandy went down. Obama spoke on that for a little bit. He spoke on that for a while, at least about a month or so. Trump's already done with Parkland. I mean, he's already done. He's on to Russia now and other things.
back to Russia.
He's not. He could care less. I mean, we saw it when he got interviewed. He had the cue cards in his hand. And one cue was like, I hear you. Like, you couldn't even You couldn't even remember. I hear what you're saying. Like you had to write that down on the card, and then that's the last thing he's ever touched of that.
Yeah.
And it's like with the political climate nowadays, and you have that racial divide that where, you know, if a white person does something, especially at such a young age where he doesn't really have a record sheet, you know, he doesn't really have anything that we can judge him off prior. And it's like, it's always diagnosed as, you know, a troubled child or something like that. Whereas if it's a Mexican or an African American, it's judged based on the culture.
Right.
And that's where we've come to now, where one race is just individualized, where the other races is kind of culturalized. And, you know, we as white people have a culture too. And it's like, you know, maybe that's a part of our culture. I mean, look at who does school shootings.
Yeah.
You know, look at who does bombings.
Yeah.
You know, it's not the black and the Latinos.
Yeah.
It's the white people. It's the white people doing it.
Yeah,
and maybe that's a part of our culture.
What Bernie Mac said, you know, you hear black people talk about all the time. Blah, 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 blah. You ain't never heard of a black terrorist in your life, you know what I'm saying?
Exactly. And we have to start looking at that as well as like the terrorist aspect of it, and just know that it's on a domestic level as well. All terrorism doesn't revolve around intercultural battles or religious battles. Intercultural terrorism is when your people are afraid of something that another country of yours did inside that country. Doesn't have to have any issue with religion or culture.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
So that also needs to be addressed as well.
Yeah, man. So we're just praying for those people down there in Florida, man. I hope y'all make it through. If you're religious people, keep your faith. Just be strong and help each other get through. That's another thing. People have to help each other get through stuff like this. So with that being said, anything else to add? All right, we'll be back with y'all in a minute.